Hey all, it is April 14th, 2023 today, and in this video I just wanted to cover some of my new additions. So we'll go over the grafts that I put on about a month ago onto the fig trees, as well as some new plants that I've added. So we're looking at my Atreano fig tree that's in ground. You'll notice that it's cut back heavily. This is a tree that by the end of the season is easily 15 feet tall and about 10 feet wide. And you'll notice that I really cut it back quite hard in winter, and that was so that I could top work it. While I enjoy Atreano, I did want to diversify the tree and put on more varieties. So when I graft, I like to graft low, just to give that variety an opportunity to put on its most growth and produce a lot of fruit. If you graft high, the rootstock tends to outcompete the graft. So the first one I'm going to show you, there's not much going on here. This is actually a chip bud graft of a variety, Spanish variety called Nuestra Senora del Carmen. And the reason I had to do a chip bud was because the cutting that I received from Figaholics was so thick. This was really the only style of graft that I could do. So I'm not sure if this is going to take. The bud has not actually pushed through the parafilm at this point yet. But I will link a video that I used to learn the technique in case you want to also try that. All right, we have a few other grafts on this tree. This one here is using the V-grafting style, using that Omega tool that you can get on Amazon. I'll link that in the description. That's principally what I use to graft all of my fig cuttings with, especially something this size where it's more of that pencil thickness. That really is appropriate size for that kind of approach. But this one here is the Black Greek Marius, so it's a Greek type of fig. This one here is a Fico San Pietro. So over to the right I have another fig tree that I severely cut back to top work. Here I have another chip bud graft that has not broken bud yet of the Nuestra Senora del Carmen. I always like to do 2 grafts of any given variety just in case one fails. And I have a couple more Spanish fig varieties on this tree. This one is the Coll de Dama Gegantina. This is the Coll de Dama Roja. Another Coll de Dama Roja up here. And then I have a second Coll de Dama Gegantina here. Moving down the line, this is my in-ground green Greek fig tree. And I put a new graft on it this year. This is actually a fig variety that is unknown, that a coworker of mine, Jim, gave me. This is the Sayre Spring, so he found this fig tree just growing on its own in an old abandoned town. So it'll be interesting to see if this fruits this year. I transplanted Marseille Black VS fig tree in ground, and I put one variety on this year, and that is the Colonel Littman's Black Cross, and you can see it's doing quite well. Here's the graft of one of them right here, and I have another one towards the center of the tree here. Coming over to my Chicago Hardy in-ground tree, I did 2 grafts of the same variety on this tree. So over here we have a Capulcurt Negra, and another one over on this side. It's a little bit behind the one on the left. This is another tree that I heavily top work. This is my Shangri-La mulberry. You can see it's reduced to a stump. And the reason for that was I wanted to reset it with some new varieties. And again, knowing that rootstock will outcompete your grafts, I went ahead and grafted really low to give that new variety a chance to take off. This is the graft that I put on, I want to say about 6 weeks ago. This variety is called World Best. It is a dwarf everbearing style mulberry. So very productive with fruit, stays a bit more compact. You can see that it's done quite well. I used a cleft graft style on this, and you can see there's already fruit, set here. I had mentioned in my fall video that the white Persian mulberry that I had growing in the past, right around this area, was not productive with fruit and was really more of a shade tree, but very aggressive in growth. Because it put so much growth on during the year, was getting difficult for me to maintain. To remove that tree, I just ended up using a chainsaw and axe to essentially cut that trunk down below grade, about 5 inches below grade, and then just cover that back up with soil. I really want trees in this space to be green all year round, and mulberry's not going to fit that need as they completely defoliate in winter. So what I've done in its place is here with this cage around it, and that's just to protect it from my chickens. This is an African Pride Atemoya. It is a grafted plant that I got on Etsy. There have been people in the valley that have gotten this variety to fruit for them. So it seems to be the more proven variety for Atemoya in our area. So that's the variety I went with. And over here, I've added another ice cream bean tree, or Inga edulis. With this plant, the main purpose is really to provide nitrogen to the other plants, because this is a nitrogen fixing tree, and also to provide that shade aspect year round. You have to protect them the first couple winters, but after that they can actually take the frost and protect other trees. So I do want this to grow into a pretty good sized canopy tree. While this is a fruit tree, reports of it actually ripening pods here in the Phoenix, Arizona area is extremely rare. I think I've only heard one case on the Facebook groups. Not to say there aren't more, but it's a pretty rare event, and that's really because they need that higher humidity. So I don't expect this tree to necessarily produce fruit for me, but I am growing it for that shade aspect and the nitrogen fixing properties. So I want to show you this plant in ground. This is actually related to Jaboticaba. It's in the same family, in the Plinia family. So this is Plinia rivularis, or called Guaburiti. I haven't heard of anyone else growing this here in our climate, so just trying this out to see how it works. So in this spot, I earlier had a nectarine plant that I had gotten from Reed at RSI Growers, and it died out because I actually had a really deep gouge in my drip line, and so it was flooding, and that tree died before I found the issue and corrected it. So in its place, I've got this new persimmon. This is a Hachia persimmon. So it is an astringent type variety, meaning it has to be perfectly ripe in order to eat it, otherwise it's going to taste pretty bad, like turpentine. But while Fuyu is the more common persimmon type, I went with the Hachia just because I hear it's a really good taste. Another change I made is, if you caught my video, I had put some fig trees here at the back. I realized in hindsight that was a mistake, because fig trees really aren't going to provide me the privacy aspect that I'd like. As you can see, I have a whole row of clumping bamboo at the back here, and so decided I wanted to keep with that theme and moved that Borgeside Gris fig tree and white Madeira to other spots, and instead planted a new variety of clumping bamboo. This is Bambusa giba. This is another tight clumper known to do very well for screening applications, and essentially screen out what's behind it to provide that nice green backdrop to my south wall. Just a quick mention on dragon fruit. I'm starting to get into that. Did order a bunch of different rooted varieties from Etsy, making some more trellises and putting them up against this wall. It's a perfect spot because it gets the coverage from the guava. It's nice and shaded so that the dragon fruit skin won't burn. Most of the varieties that I've purchased are self-fertile, so I won't need to hand pollinate them. Many out there are successful with dragon fruit here in the valley. They just don't like to be in direct summer sun here all day. They'll burn up, and they also need to be protected from frost in winter. But definitely doable in our climate. With getting educated about soil last year, I have done a lot more container growing. I used to hate container growing in the past because it seemed like I would always rot out the plants by watering them too much. And of course that's because I was using the wrong soil, using the stuff that had wood product in it. Now I'm using, you know, completely inorganic soil for the planting media, and of course just top dressing with the organics. But I wanted to show you a few plants in here. Quite a few, you know, different Eugenias in the yard. This is one that I've never tried growing before. You can see it's quite a small plant. This is also referred to as a privet stopper. Supposed to fruit, you know, berries. So we'll see how that does. Another type of Eugenia here. This is repanda. Very small. And here you can see another Eugenia that I've got in a pot. This is actually one that I grew from seed from my Black Star Suriname. I do enjoy the taste of the Suriname cherries, and they are incredibly easy to propagate from seed. Yeah, I was chatting with someone online and they got me interested in MB. So trying this is actually a type of Garcinia or mangosteen. So African mangosteen is actually dioecious, meaning your plant will just flower male or female, not both, meaning it won't be self-fertile. So you generally need more than one plant. There are reports that some African mangosteens are hermaphroditic, where they have both female and male flowers so that they are self-fertile and you only need one plant. But just to kind of increase my odds, I bought 3 different plants. So here I've got the smaller ones. I got these on eBay from the same shop that I bought my mango seedlings from. And here's a more mature one. This one's probably 1.5 years old, that I got from Miami Fruit, which is a place where you can actually buy and try out fruit, tropical fruit. This is a gem avocado I got on Etsy. Grumachama. Over by my mango seedlings, I have a couple new avocados. These I just got at Lowe's. So we got a little Cado here and a Fuerte right here. You can see they're just pushing out the new leaves right now. It's pretty typical for avocado. They shed their old leaves and put on new around this time. And then one that I've never tried before but always was curious about is Jamaican cherry. This is the yellow variety. I actually got this from Pete Canaris. The issue with these is they are extremely cold sensitive. Pretty much guaranteed to die if you put them in ground, unless you heavily winter protect, you know, with frost cloth and a heat source. But my plan is to container grow this for long term, essentially grow this up into a 15-gallon container, and then annually remove the plant from the container and root prune to rejuvenate it. One other thing to mention is I actually planted some artichoke last fall, which I've never attempted growing here, and you can see it's done really well. I think the key thing about artichoke is knowing its life cycle. You really want to plant it in the fall. Fall to winter is when it's actually going to put down the roots and grow, and springtime is when it's going to fruit. Summer is when it goes dormant, and for some reason that's also when it seems some of your big box stores sell artichoke. You don't want to plant them in summer because that's actually when they go to sleep. As you can see here, this is loaded up with artichokes. Already harvested them and they are incredibly delicious. I'm a fan of artichokes and actually used to live in Northern California near Castroville, which is the artichoke capital. Growing your own is just so much better. The taste on these, nice and sweet, and intense artichoke flavor. It seems like the ones you get at the store are watered down. They are a lot larger when you buy them from a store, but the ones you grow yourself are packed so much more with flavor. So just wanted to point this out as another good one to grow in your yard. This will come back every year for about 5 years, so a good return on investment if you enjoy artichokes. I hope you enjoyed the update on the new additions to my garden here in the Far West Valley. Definitely want to keep you updated, and if you do have questions, let me know, or if you have any ideas for future videos that you'd like me to cover, please pop those into the comments section. Thanks for watching and happy gardening.